Hello, my name is Emma. I'm a practicing Catholic and I'm also going to a different house of worship every week. This week we are going to a Hindu temple, which is super exciting because it's really outside my own faith tradition. So I chatted with a Hindu friend in Chicago and she recommended this temple. So we're going to go check it out and I'll take you along with me. We're back from the temple and I had such a good experience. I think it was just so cool to see something that's completely different from my own faith background. So I'll talk a little bit about what I learned about Hinduism, just because I came in knowing absolutely nothing. And then I'll tell you a little bit about the temple and then kind of takeaways from it. And please feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, because I don't want to be spreading misinformation, but this is at least how I understood it, is that it's much more individual practice. So I feel like a lot of Christianity is you go to church every Sunday at this specific time, whereas with Hinduism, a lot of it can be done at home, praying by yourself. And when you go to temples, you can pray to certain gods. So for example, there are gods that maybe you feel more connected with, or if you're praying for a certain thing, you might find a temple for that god. But there's not an expectation that you go at particular intervals. And even at temples, they may have certain times of prayer that they regularly pray every day, depending on the god, but you can also just go in on your own. My understanding of God is that there is this large omniscient God, and so all of the depictions of specific gods really come out of it, and they represent certain aspects. I forgot to mention this, but the temple that I attended was dedicated to Ganesh, so I'll put a little bit of information about that god up so you can learn. So going into the temple itself, I was looking at clothing recommendations online. So it's about modesty. So there weren't any particular guidelines, just like longer pants, covered shoulders, that kind of thing, nothing super tight. And a big thing was taking off your shoes. So when I entered, there was a separate room off to the side that was the shoe room that you stopped in first. Walking into the main room, there was a man at a desk greeting everyone. It was pretty open. There were white walls, there were corridors and patches of grass on the floor. In terms of actual religious items, so there was a large statue of the god in the center of the room at the very front, on sort of sitting on a chair on some sort of altar. Below the god, there were steps where I believe there were some sort of offerings. So there were like little statues, there were bottles, there were actually pieces of fruit as well. So I came in and sat down in the back because I was just going to observe, but soon the man at the desk told me that I should go up to the front. So I went up to the front and there was a second man standing right in front of the god statue and he gave me a blessing. So there were three parts. So one of them was this, and my understanding is that this is kind of like the original bindi. So it was this red paste and he had a cup of water and a small spoon. So he spooned out a little bit of the water into my right hand that I drank. And then the last part was a sort of silver bowl with a little handle on it that he put over my head and said a blessing. And he talked me through it, and he also asked for all of them if it was okay for him to do it. I clearly didn't know what I was doing, and they were really nice about it. I would say it was a really nice atmosphere. So they had the sounds of the water from the fountains. There was this soft chant soundtrack. And then the man who had given me the blessing went to pray. He was doing some sort of chant and had incense and a small bell. So I just kind of did my own Christian prayers that I was going to do anyway for the day. And it was a really nice atmosphere. It seemed kind of how we would talk about adoration in the Catholic Church. The people themselves were super hospitable. There weren't that many people there. I did definitely get some strange looks as someone who came in and clearly didn't really know what they were doing, but they were super welcoming. And then on the way out, they gave me that little cup of rice as well. So hospitality seemed to be a really big thing. But overall, I think it was very peaceful. It was very beautiful. And I think also being able to see a religion that is just so old. I always think of Catholicism and Christianity as old, but this is like thousands of years before even that. This is number 15 of places that I visited. I'm hoping to continue this on YouTube, so if you're interested, my link's in my bio. I have a little bit of a harder job now, so I might not be able to do every week clearly, but I'm gonna do my best because I think I've been learning a lot from this journey and I would love to keep sharing. So thank you and have a wonderful week.